Wow. Oh my goodness. This is like amazing. I just, what really resonated with what you just said right now, of course, stating your expectations, because you're right. If you don't state your expectations, the possibility of misunderstanding and then, going into a huge blowout is evident, right? But what I really liked was this idea of pausing. Like, just so for example, you're having a conversation and it's going south. So you're saying, just pause. Like, just, would it be a bit awkward if I pause? Like, say for example, I'm having a conversation and it's like, blah, blah, whatever. And then I'm just quiet and not saying anything. Does
I,
that add to it, like,
That's
or
that is the exact reason why many people don't pause, because we feel like it's going to be awkward, uncomfortable,
Mhm,
and it is. We're not used to it. 5 seconds can seem like 5 minutes,
mhm,
but those pauses not only give you a chance to think, it gives the other person a chance to think. Now, pause can also mean like more than that. You may need a break. Like,
mhm,
hey, this is a really important conversation. I want to hear what you have to say. Hey, I want to dedicate the right amount of time. I have a call coming up. Let's plan to meet in half an
mhm,
hour, like
mhm,
down at the coffee shop or
mhm,
whatever.
mhm.
A way to not only put it to a different environment,
Yeah.
but also to give you a chance to think about it. So it might
Mhm.
not always be within the moment.
Okay.
It's the pausing literally for
Mm.
more than many moments.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, yeah, I mean, I think that's a brilliant idea. Is if you see this, both sides are just going, rah, it might be a good idea to just, take a moment, like just say, why don't we come back to this topic, and when we're a bit calmer, and to, because I think when you're having a conflict and then, tempers are flying, or, the hostility is just like, rising, and you can tell the passive aggressiveness in the voice or tone, that could offset, that could cause you to say something you regret later on. So taking that moment and taking that break, I think, is, like you rightly said, is extremely important. Yeah, go ahead,
And
Leslie.
something you said made me think about something that,
Hmm.
yes, when you are both noticeably heated and
Hmm.
upset, validate the other person's feelings. It could be like,
Hmm.
I know, like what is
Hmm.
happening here is
Yeah.
very stressful. I think
Hmm.
this is incredibly important. Let's
Hmm.
take the right amount of time in the right space to talk about this.
Hmm.
And you can say, let's both think about it and come back to it in half an hour or whatever the amount of time is. But validating it will be like, oh, you're right. This is really important.
Hmm.
And yep, let's schedule a specific time in a private room to talk about this.
Yeah, I hear people say things like, for example, "I hear you." Like, how does that sound? Does that sound a bit? I don't know. Sometimes it could be condescending, I think, but that's just me. I don't think I mean, sometimes I hear that, "I hear you," or "I've heard you." I don't know. What are some words we should maybe avoid? In the
Well,
attempt
I,
to validate.
I'm
Yeah.
going to make it sound very complicated and difficult. It depends on the person. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
all have words that personally are almost like our hot buttons,
Mm.
and the other person won't necessarily know. It
No.
takes
Okay.
us to know. So for you, if you hear, like I just go, "Oh no, I heard you," you
Okay.
know that's going to trigger you a little bit.
Mm.
Maybe really like listen through the word
Mm.
and go,
Mm.
you know what? I think she really does want to hear me. I don't like the way she said it. But and it helps you then to go on and actually hear the rest rather than
Mhm.
filling your brain with the emotion of like, she doesn't really hear me.
Right. Yeah. I think that then, okay, so the onus then becomes, it's me. The onus is on me to then have positive intent, right? It's to make sure that, um, whatever I'm hearing is not necessarily an attack. So yeah. So I think I have to think positively and say, okay, they don't mean harm, right? I'm guessing that's what you're saying, but to assume
Yeah,
positive
or
intent.
you might not decide that, but like question it. Let me not assume they mean harm. Let
Mm.
me explore this further. And I do think you picked up on an important point. if we want to be good communicators,
Mhm.
we have to take responsibility for it. We can't just
Mm,
go, well, they should have said it in a
mhm.
better way.
Right,
They
right.
should be approaching me. I'm going to wait. She's my manager, so I'm going to wait for her to come or him to come,
Mm,
them to come at me.
right.
We need, if good communicators take responsibility for the communication, in a full way, not just
Mm,
like, I'm only going to worry about what I'm saying. I might have to help with the other person. I might have to answer questions that I wish they asked, but they didn't ask them.
mm. I love that. I love what you said. You said good communication. Oh gosh, now I've forgotten. You said something about good. Could you repeat that again?
Oh,
Some good
uh,
communication. Good communication is dependent on. Oh, now I
but
forgot.
well, and us, like we
Yeah,
have to
on
take
us, right?
ownership
Yes, that's
of
it.
good communication from all sides. If you want to be a good communicator, you have to almost be a leader in communication. You have to lead and
Mm.
guide, and others will come along.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I really like that. When you said what resonated was that it starts with me, basically. If I know that, for example, I'll say in the altercation, it wasn't really an altercation, it was a misunderstanding with my colleague. Sorry if she's watching. Um, but you know what she did? She took the onus. And like she was like, I'm going to reach out to Amara because I think she wasn't very happy, and I'm going to reach out to her and find out what happened and see how we can clear this up because I wasn't ready to have that conversation. So she took responsibility and said, you know what? Even though she may not want to talk to me about this, I'm going to take the responsibility to reach out to her and have this conversation. And to me, that's a strong leadership quality to actually recognize that if something is wrong, and instead of waiting for somebody else to step up, you step up and say, okay, you know what, I think something is wrong here, let's go find that out and figure it out, right?
Absolutely.
That's a good example.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, there's Shaya saying hello. Hey, thank you for the
Hello.
heart. They're sending us some hearts. Thank you.
Ah,
I think it's resonating. That's excellent. Thank you so much, Shaya. Right, so I do have another question.
great.
Because of course we live in the digital age. Come
Oh,
on, Zoom.
oh,
We're zooming, we're teaming, we're using all kinds of platforms to engage with one another virtually. And come on, I think that digital communication, it has a plethora of challenges. So I wanted to, ask you what are some ways that we can address the gap, the digital gap sometimes when we're talking and misreading people or not reading people at all. What do you suggest?
and there are gaps. I mean, so obviously, like you said, there's this assumption that we have great communication going on because
Mm,
we are, like you said, we're Zooming, we're texting, we're messaging, we're still emailing. Um, and but there's a lot of miscommunication going on. So
mm,
obviously there's a disconnect. And most of it is there's hardly any opportunity to really talk and to ask questions, to
mm,
clarify, to summarize. Those are like key elements to help resolve miscommunication, but they're
mhm,
not happening.
mm,
And it's because, as everyone would assume, the opportunities are limited. And I'm going to state a few. Like, we miss those chances to chat with people, like when a meeting is ending or
mm,
after a meeting, because what
mhm.
happens? When the online meeting is over, the host just clicks end. Oops,
And
now you can't even talk to the other person, and will take much more effort to continue the conversation with whoever might have been sitting next to you at the table.
mm,
Those informal meetups when we used to walk by someone's desk or their office, or you'd go and have a cup of coffee or tea with someone, or meet for lunch, or just fill up your water bottle. All of
mm,
that is gone for now. So we have to deal with that. So what should we do? We have to be more intentional. We
mm,
need to really talk more. We need to create opportunities for the informal dialogues. If they can't be in person, then find ways to add communication with your voice. Your voice communicates so much. And if you're only
mm,
writing emails, then you've stripped away that voice communication. And Amara, you do this so well. We had been sending some messages back and forth with each other, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden there was this like voice message I listened to, and your voice said it all for me. It almost didn't
Oh.
matter what the words said, the passion and the excitement was conveyed, and that's why I'm mentioning it. There's another tip I heard it from someone recently. It's just a good um, thing to consider. If you're texting and emailing with someone and you have more than two exchanges about the same issue,
Mm.
stop and pick up the phone, because
Mm.
it's just going to keep on going back and forth. There's
Mm.
obviously, you need more ways to communicate through the
Okay.
voice for someone to
Mm.
hear. I remember a story from a company I worked in quite a long time ago.
Mhm.
And there was this woman that would send emails, and they were just so, that curt, like it sounded like order. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're not my sergeant. Like, what's going on? So what drove her crazy is that she would write an email, and then I would get up and go find her and just
Oh.
go, "Hey, oh, I think I saw an email in my inbox from you. Oh, what do you need?" And when
Mm.
she would say what she needs, it just would come across in a different way. And I knew when I would read her email, my blood would be
Oh
boiling.
my
And it
gosh,
just
yeah.
really, it works. To
Yeah.
hear someone's voice
Mhm.
matters.
Mhm.
And it's an integral part of how we say things. I think how you say it often
Mm.
is heard louder than what you say. And it
Mm.
takes a lot. It's extra effort. You've got to be proactive to try to initiate some of these more casual dialogues and talk that we don't have. We're so formal. We have the agenda for a meeting. We just read off, what we're doing, what the due date is, when we're going to be done, and then we're just done. We don't have those little side conversations
Yeah.
that build the communication and the relationship and the understanding.
Absolutely. And I'm telling you, Leslie, people are really resonating with what you're saying. I want to quickly, kind of go back to what you said earlier about this informal dialogues. I also feel like a lot of times when we're running, team meetings or just, all hands meetings or all staff meetings, it's just like really like this.
Yes.
Super serious. There's no warmth, come on, like we're human. And just this informal dialogues, checking in, like we just jump right in without checking in. I think that's also missing. And that, when you talk about informal dialogues, you're absolutely right. And also just really quickly, coming back to the way we talk, just the fact that you met your colleague, and she was able to express herself, and boom, you recognize, okay, she didn't mean harm. She was just asking a simple question. How we read tone and voice, tone, especially in text messages or emails, wow, it could be
Yes.
night and day. And literally the comment section is just going on fire. We have Shaya says, I miss the elevator talks sometimes,
Yes.
right?
Oh my God. I mean,
Mm.
I remember one company I worked at. I mean, it's almost like you went downstairs to hang out in this corner coffee shop, because you
Right,
knew you would run into some like people from different departments or
right.
whatever. And it was just, and then when you eventually worked on a project with them, it was so different. You had some communication already, like a framework of it. And then when they say something that kind of sounds a little off, we feel more welcome to ask a question and go,
Mm.
"Wow, oh, what did you mean? Oh, no, I didn't mean it like that. This is what I
Exactly.
meant."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, so, it's just because we're working from home now, like, that the connection is not really there. Thank you so much, Shaya, for joining the conversation. Juliet says, I really miss chatting with people during, before, or after meetings, right? Like, that's exactly what you're saying.
Absolutely. I mean, I was one of those people that I always liked going to a meeting early. First of all,
Mhm.
especially if I was leading it, I was nervous about doing it. It was more comfortable to have myself settled. But also, I liked like having those one-on-one conversations as people came in, because the group
Yeah.
of 20 sometimes was overwhelming to be able to speak up in. But if
Mhm.
I knew, if I like was able to say hello, like good morning, good afternoon, oh, how was your weekend? I mean, you don't have to get personal, but you can get personal without being
Mm.
too personal.
Love that. Love that. Absolutely. Wow. And so many words sharing. So let's just go right in. Yes, sharing and connecting. You know what? I think the fact that the act of exchanging and sharing really kind of builds that bond. And that kind of builds that belonging, that inclusiveness that we're talking about, that inclusion, right? Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh gosh, we gotta go
Absolutely.
to Liz. Liz is dialing in from I believe she's starting from Nashville. Did I see that? Yeah, she's from
Oh,
Nashville.
wow.
Yeah. Hello, Liz. Thank you so much for
Hello,
joining
Liz.
in. And she says, I miss the ladies' room talk. Man.
You
Yeah.
know, she reminds me of years ago. I wasn't always involved in conflict management. I was
Mhm.
involved in conflict. That's what got me into conflict management. And I
Mhm.
used to be in real estate and construction and renovations. I worked at Radio City Musical. And she mentioned
Oh,
ladies' room.
really?
The if anyone hasn't been to Radio City Musical, you must go, because the ladies' rooms have the best waiting areas
Mm-hmm.
any building I've ever been in. And the chat that used to go on in those waiting rooms was incredible.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, because we're restricted, but hopefully things are changing and maybe we'll get to have more opportunities to connect that. Maybe. Yeah.
Definitely.
And then some more people are sharing. Oh, so Juliet Oharu says, voice notes. And she just kind of, um, I think when you talked about, just hearing the voice, it just really helps you immediately connect. I think just
Yes.
hearing voice helps you connect. You can hear the energy. And I think that's what Juliet was referring to. And
Um, I,
mhm.
it, I, I'm thinking of something that I do, and I didn't even think of suggesting it.
Yeah.
If you're ever the one leading a meeting, I will schedule to start, but I'll let everyone know I'm not going to be
Oh,
on until, like, if it's a group, 15 minutes in. And
mhm.
but I want them all to go on, and I'll let them know there's gonna be a
Mm.
breakout room and things like that, where
Mhm.
people can have that chat that they used to have. It's still difficult because you're not having that side-by-side chat, it's a group of people, but it's
Mhm.
a way to try to create opportunities for people to have the informal chat either before a meeting or after a meeting. And use breakout rooms. People don't,
Use it enough, you think?
yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really brilliant idea. I usually run trainings online, and like I have to say, most of the time we're running out of time, and I just like end the meeting. But it could be a good idea to leave the room open and just have people continue talking, and that could be. I'm going to try that. I have a
Yes.
training I'm running next week, so I'm going to try it out and see how that works out. More comments are coming in. This is good. Loving the engagement. Thank you so much. I have here Shaya again. Woo! Shaya's on fire. Woo woo! Thank you. Shaya says sometimes getting to know people outside of the work, outside of the meeting space, deepens the relationship. Wow. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Mhm. You know, I was part of a workshop. I think his name is Dr. Zach Mercurio, I believe. And he was just talking about how do you make people feel like they matter? How do you make people feel like they're valued? I mean, the only way to do that is by knowing the people, right? If you need to kind of invest some time to know your staff, know your colleagues. By developing, by getting to know them, you really build that bond, and it's that bond that creates that sense of belongingness in your team or in the organization. I can definitely say in my team, I work for the Norwegian Refugee Council, and in my team, our line manager Alain Rias, he's done a great job of really building a very cohesive and very inclusive team. We engage with one another. We sometimes have dinners. We go to picnics together, and we've become a really close knit team. So it builds a psychological safety that allows us to then have those sometimes tricky conversations, knowing that we are really coming. So that allows us to not have this, negative perspective when we hear something that sounds a bit off.
Yeah.
It's so easy to become aggressive, but knowing that you're in a safe place, that they have good intent, and that's really helped build our team. So yeah.
And you feel comfortable to ask, like, hey, this seems very contrary to what I expect. What am I hearing from you? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you may at least you question it rather than just go, oh, she's just a rude person. You think,
Exactly.
I heard that. It sounded rude, but I know her. No, this doesn't sound right. I'm going to talk to her offline, separately and find out if I heard it wrong or whatever. And find out
Absolutely.
what the stress is. Maybe there's an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's so then that's why building this environment is so important, because if you don't have that environment where people feel safe to talk, and if you don't have set rules on how you communicate, then people will not get to that point of saying, wow, that sounded odd, that's a bit off for Susan. Let's go figure out what's going on there, right? Like,
Yes.
you'd need to be in that place to have that perspective. But if you're missing that dynamic in the workplace, chances are you're not going to get there. And then boom, conflict.
And conflict and differing ideas are all lead to creativity and innovation. And if
Mhm.
people don't feel comfortable to raise their like far off idea, like, hey, I was thinking we could try this,
Mhm.
and this. And someone else is like, oh, I love B. What about that A and C idea you just
Mhm.
mentioned? Tell me more, because I didn't think that would ever work.
Right.
And then it just invites ideas, collaboration, and you don't have people sitting by going, I better not say anything because everyone's going to think my idea is stupid.
Right.
You want all those crazy ideas being brought up. It doesn't mean that they're all going to be adopted, but
Mhm.
it's going to trigger other ideas and it'll make other people feel comfortable in talking about their ideas.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Leslie. And I mean, psychological safety is a key lever in, having good communication strategies in the workplace. And that's a topic I'm definitely going to have a live stream on, because that's another
Yes.
interesting point. Oh, Liz. Oh, Liz on fire too. So Liz says, I miss taking a walk with colleagues when we're having challenging days, and we supported each other in person. Yes, right?
And you know what's great
Yeah.
about a walk with someone that you're actually in conflict with?
Hmm.
In a way, it gives you the pause of not constantly looking at each other.
Hmm.
So if you're walking side by side and you're feeling like some of the stress, it gets relieved because you're kind of both have a chance to think. You're not staring at each other.
Right.
And a side by side talk really works well with someone you're having difficulty with.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm just wondering, like, do you think I mean, I'm guessing it could be possible to have walking meetings where virtually you have your phone
I
and
just had one the other day. I wasn't the walking person, the other person was. They're like, we were on Zoom and they're like, I hope you don't mind. I need to do a walking meeting. And I was like, maybe you need to wait a minute and I'm going to start walking too. And we were walking together. And even though it was over Zoom, you know what? We had some personal moments that just helped us ease like the stress of the difficult topic we were talking about,
Mhm.
because I was showing like where I was and she was showing where she was walking by. And then we got to the topic. Um, it can really help.
Yeah, that could be an idea. Switch it up. You don't have to always be in front of the computer seated. You can actually, go on, have your meeting on the phone, and just walk out and get some fresh air and exchange on that level. Wow.
Definitely.
It's been amazing, Leslie. Like, I've had seriously the most amazing time sharing and learning, not just from you, but also from our uh, live stream participators. Participants.
Yes.
I'm making up a name. Participators. Did I just say that?
Yes.
But Leslie, it's been amazing just
No,
sharing with you. And I'm just wondering, can you tell us a little bit about, what you're working on and maybe how people can reach you? I've just put on the ticker, your email and, how they can reach you on LinkedIn. Please, if
great.
you're not following
Please.
Leslie, please follow Leslie Nydick on LinkedIn.
Yes.
She's amazing. And you can already see she's amazing. She's an expert in the field. And look, if you have an organization, a team, a business, if you have maybe a team of more than one person, you need to have a conflict strategist. You need to have, her expertise to kind of guide you, because setting a communication plan in your team and raising that self-awareness and intentionality is critical. So please follow Leslie and reach out to her. Leslie, tell us, what are you working on?
A few different training programs in negotiation and also communication. And really what I'm mostly working on is a blog that I started last summer. I want to share, and I call them the strats. It's strategies, they're bite-sized, it's things like listen more, talk more. And I put them out about every 2 weeks. And I post them on LinkedIn, of course, as well. And I just love the conversations that are going on. Not only, do I want to share what I know, but the feedback helps me learn. I'm just always curious just about continuing to expand, knowing what the challenges are. So that no strings attached. I just love sharing. So if anyone wants to subscribe to the blog or just read them when I post them on LinkedIn, whatever it is, just connect with me, because I love the conversation.
Awesome.
And connecting on LinkedIn, the networking is incredible.
Yeah.
I'm sure you all know that, but it really is. It's genuine, and you can find people that can challenge you and be curious about what other people are doing and learn more. It's just exciting. And by the way, on LinkedIn, Leslie Nydick, make sure it's me that you connect with. I do have a distant relative named Leslie Nydick, who's also on LinkedIn, but I'm the conflict strategist, so I think you'll be able to pick me out. So
Yeah,
I would love to connect with all of you.
Awesome. Yeah, so please go out there and connect with Leslie. She is also the conflict strategist. You need her. It's been amazing having you on, and Liz actually agrees with me. She says, "Great sharing today and learning." Absolutely, it's been awesome having you on, Liz, Shaya, also, and Julie. Juliet, goodness, I'm calling her Julie and Juliet. Juliet has been awesome. Just sharing and really joining and being part of this conversation. I think that communication is so important, and I mean, if you're not having good communication strategy, if you're not getting very clear on how you want to actually engage in communication, don't be that organization or business that just imagines the communication is going to happen just wonderfully out of the blue. Leslie mentioned, if you're listening, she says intentionality. You've got to be intentional about it, right? So it's so important. And yeah, this has been really great. Okay, Liz also has something. She says, "I love building community in virtual classroom training classes. New ideas today." Whoa, great!
Oh, thank you.
This is great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I think it's worth repeating. Communication requires intention and attention and a lot of effort, but it's worth it.
It's worth it. And we're going to leave on this note, because Cher says, "This was fun." And I agree with you. It was a lot of fun.
It
Leslie,
was a lot.
you were amazing. And everyone
thank you
here
for
too.
having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Leslie, for being here. And I want to thank everyone that showed up and joined in and was part of the conversation. You made it amazing. Thank you so much for being here. So until next time, be well. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.